for people out there going through breakups and this and that, not just switching off and going to a new partner and like just being able to like truly find out who you are. It's like, I'd say like majority of people in these relationships, they don't know what their purpose is. They don't even know what makes them happy. They're so like dependent on somebody else that they're so quick to hopping to somebody new. It's like, that's where their happiness depends on. And I think just having that alone time. And for me, like it was the running and just being able to go zone out and I learned so much about myself just doing long distance runs, like learned so much about myself and like found joy and happiness within just digging deep on just doing voluntary suffering and just being out there and like just realizing that no one was going to make me happy but myself in the long run. At the end of the day, we all got ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bob Bay. Each week with our guest episodes, I try to put the spotlight on an expert who can help us reach our inner potential. Our guest today lived in the center of the LA nightlife for more than a decade and created a life that he always dreamed of. He was around celebrity friends, beautiful women, fast cars, and popularity. Even after achieving his dream, he was being left felt empty, and then a tragedy threatened to destroy him and everything that he worked for. So he left the industry and began a journey of self-discovery and reinvention. He's the author of Mask, My Race Through the Belly of Hollywood to Self-Discovery. If you're watching visually, you can see the book right here, right now. He's also an ultra runner athlete, and he recently completed the Black Canyon 100K, a 62-mile race. This man is an absolute savage. Today on the podcast, Eli Wehbe. How we doing?
What's going on, man? Pleasure to be here.
Did I pronounce the last name right?
You got it pretty good. It's Wehbe. You did good, yeah. Most people say Wehbe, Webb. I mean, there's all these kinds of just names going out there, but you did a good job.
I appreciate it, man. Truly honored to have you on the show today, man. I told you this a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago through a voice memo, but I have seen and known about you since I moved to LA. And straight up, when I first moved here, I was always on the hunt for future guests. And you were around a lot of people that I was getting access to and interviewing. And I'd come across your Instagram and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's crushing it. Because I just see him around truly like the center of Hollywood. He's partying. He's with all the high level clientele. I'd go diving onto Google to like figure out who you were. And I couldn't find anything. And I was like, I don't know who he is. He's doing something right. And then, over the years, then like fast forward, I had a homie of mine send me that video after you had gone off the grid of you running. And I was like, this is the guy that I just saw in the middle of nightlife. Now he's like out of it. And then from that moment, I started really following along with like the last year, 2 years of you. And I'm just a big fan of the energy you put out. And I'm so excited to dive into a lot of topics with you today, man.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Let's get into it, man.
Let's dive in, baby. So there was a podcast that I recently came across that you were on, and you had said, you can be quicker than me, you can be stronger than me, but you are not outworking me. I will go till I fucking die. You actually said this to me the other night when we were talking about running. How did you develop this mindset? Because this doesn't just happen out of thin air. Like, this is something that's very in you, but I think you've had to work to build this type of, I almost would describe like a wall around your brain where you're just literally so mentally dialed in.
Yeah. I think like just going through a lot of the, tough times in my life, I just continued to keep like laying these bricks and bricks around my brain and just like keep building them up and keep building them up. And then just doing things that were tough every day and doing things that I didn't want to do every day and just seeing like the outcome of how I felt after like just completing those tasks. And like, it's just like an everyday discipline. I wouldn't say like, I just think I've always had it in me. Like I just have like this just never give up mentality and just to never quit. And I just like, I just think it's either with you or it's not, or you can kind of develop it, but like you just have to have like this, I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about me, and just have to go out there and get it and just go. Like that's just kind of, it's just hard to like either have it or you don't. I feel like it's just one of those things, Do you think you could build on it though for people that maybe don't have it necessarily in them right now? Yeah, for sure. They just got to start doing the shit that they don't want to do every single day. I mean, we're living in a weak ass society right now, and everyone's just sitting here doing soft things every day, and they wonder why they can't handle tough times when they come towards them. They just don't know how to deal with it. But if you can build like a daily discipline of just doing things you don't want to fucking do. I don't want to fucking run every day. I don't want to sit in the cold plunge every day, but I go and fucking do it. And like literally that builds a discipline for everything in your life. It's not just those things, like now when whatever I say I'm going to do, I go do it. Like it doesn't, like there's nothing stopping me. And that's all because of the self-discipline I build on just doing the shit you don't want to do every single day.
Yeah, I had my barber early this morning ask me, he's like, why do you love working out so much? And I was like, I honestly don't. I love the fucking feeling after when I'm like, I put in the work, I went for the run, I lifted the weights or whatever it is that I did. But I said, 90% of the times I don't want to do it, but I know that end feeling of what's going to come if I follow through with it. And that's what helps me stay accountable to actually doing the work and actually showing up. How have you learned though to like, you really don't care what people think about you, which I know this is like your norm now, but there's for sure people listening right now that literally are living by the decisions of people around them. They're allowing society to tell them the direction to go in their life. Like you have built the life for yourself where you just do what you want to do. And because of that, you've also surrounded yourself with people that live a life that's very similar to that. So your reality is just like, yeah, I'm just around a bunch of people doing the shit they want to do. But for me, for instance, 5 years ago, I was around people where everyone was walking the same path and they weren't ready to take that risk. So how have you learned to just truly, genuinely not care what people think about you and do the things you want to do?
I think it's all through kind of like learning the hard way. In my opinion, I think like going through caring so much at so many times in your life about opinions of others and judgment and realizing that it doesn't fucking matter. Like they're not thinking about you. They don't give a fuck about what you're doing. They have an opinion for 5 to 10 seconds and they're not thinking about you after that. But you're sitting there thinking about it for days or months or whatever, but you realize that their opinions aren't going to dictate what you're going to do in your life. And, with everything that I went through, coming out of the cancel culture stuff, all that stuff, like I felt like, all these years of caring about all these fucking people telling me I should do this, telling me to do that, or like, where were they? Like when I was going through my shit, you know what I'm saying? Like these motherfuckers weren't there. Like nobody was there, So like, I think just like, tough times create tough people, it's like the saying that we know. And like, I think after you go through some rock bottom times or some situations that just make you realize that their just opinions aren't going to help you get to the next level in your life. They're just not going to help you get there. And then it's just going through the experience. You have to experience it,
Yeah. While you're going through the cancel culture stuff, which I can only imagine was a hell of a ride. For context to people that are listening, there was a tragedy from a party. A woman passed away from a drug overdose. It got pinpointed back to Eli, and there's I think still that's a whole nother conversation, which we're not here to deal with today. But you end up going 6 months off the grid. You get off Instagram. You pretty much just I think every day you were doing like 4 things: reading, meditating, running, repeat. You were just literally just cut everything off from the world. What are you learning about yourself through this stillness while you have everybody externally maybe trying to point the finger at you, or you're just not getting anything good coming to you? Like, how does that stillness actually help you develop?
I think, actually I took off for 8 months and I just realized what mattered and what didn't in life. And everything that I was doing just felt like it had no purpose. Everything I felt like I was doing in the nightlife and being out every night and it wasn't fulfilling me. And I got to just dive deep into myself, learn about what I loved, learn about what I could do to be more in service to others. Like there was just so much growth that I was learning every day because I was running like 15 to 20 miles a day. I was writing the book. I was putting like literally like just the whole truth of how this entire industry worked, the truth of that situation, what had happened. And man, it was a beautiful 8 months, man. Like I wish it was always like that, man. It was just fucking dope, And honestly, like the only reason why I'm on social media now is to just literally be in service for others and be able to share my journey and my story and help inspire other people to start doing better in their lives. Like that's literally like my concept of even posting on there. I want to make people laugh. I want to motivate people, and I want people just to do better and like believe in themselves, that they can You're
definitely having that feeling though now from what you're posting though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's just, I I think I always had it in me. Like even when I was doing the nightlife stuff, I always like to motivate people and inspire people. And I think even when I'm like in my youth, I always wanted to kind of be known or looked up to. And I thought like the right realm was like this, Hollywood lifestyle or actor or a celebrity or like to be somebody like that. But that was never it. I think I was lost in that whole scene the whole time I was in it. And, I was successful with what I did, but I was never happy. There was just no fulfillment from it. And now like, dude, just getting messages from people telling me like my book changed their life, or my running inspires them every day, or my daily workouts, or like just the messages and the quotes and all that stuff, man. Like that's what warms my heart, man. Like that's what like feels best to me.
Yeah. Talk to me about, not to cut you off, but talk to me about what that feeling is like, where outside looking in, right? 99% of people would say when you're in the middle, you're at the peak of your nightlife career, people would say you are truly living the dream. You're out every night, you're around celebrities, nice cars, beautiful women, nice houses. Like you're at literally the peak of it all, but yet internally you feel empty. How does that shape your perspective? Like, what does that feel like, where that was the moment you spent 10 years working for from the ground up, from literally not getting paid, working the door, to then building your way up to then being, partnership in one of the biggest nightclubs in LA. Like you're at the peak now. Like that's got to be such a fucking eye-opening feeling of like, I'm here, but I feel empty.
Yeah, it felt completely empty, man. It was crazy because you know what it was? There was no purpose to the goal. Right. It was just it was all ego driven. It was all like, what's going to get me here? Who am I going to have with me that's better than this person or better than that person? And like, there was just no real purpose to what I was doing. It was just like, how am I going to get to the top? How am I going to partner or own a nightclub? And then like, what do you do next after that? Right. Like it's just more and more and more and more and more. What kind of better car can I have? What kind of better club can I have? What kind of better hotel or restaurant can I open? It was just like, it was just all temporary satisfaction, back and forth. It was just like drugs and alcohol. It was the same thing.
What about, go ahead, please keep going.
Yeah. Like I'm just saying, like if you have no purpose to the goal, then like you're literally you're wasting your time. And I think a lot of people out there don't even think about that. They just see like, oh my God, I want to be that person, or I want to be up there, or I want to like own this, or I want to own that, but there's no purpose to it. Like it's just, they're not doing anything to fulfill themselves, and they're trying to climb up this ladder with zero purpose at the top of it, and they end up empty. They're just going to fall right back down the ladder,
Yeah. You get to one peak, you realize there's just another peak that you're trying to climb. You want that first beat. You go from the Honda Civic to the BMW, you get the BMW, you're like, well, now I want the Rolls Royce. You get to the Rolls Royce, now you want the Bugatti, and there's just this evolution.
I was there. I did it all, dude, and like I had a Rolls at one point, and I was just like, all right, well, what's next after this? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I'm not going to go get a Bugatti now. It's just like, it was just ridiculous. But yeah, it's funny. I just don't give a shit about any of that stuff anymore. I don't care about cars anymore. I don't care about anything materialistic anymore, man. It's just like, I'm telling you, man, something in like the daily grind and like the daily routine. Cause like, every day I get up and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to run 20 miles a day. And then like when I get out there and I'm cruising and I'm just like, fuck, this is why I do this. Like every day, like I'll be like halfway through the run, just laughing, screaming, like just vibing, flying down the mountain. And like anything that's bothering me, any stress, any anxiety, anything I'm overthinking, like literally I'm like, yo, let's put my phone away. Let me put my pack on and let me just go, like, let's get up at 4 today and let's just go train in the mountains. And like, literally it all clears, man. But like I said, like you gotta find something, man. Like there has to be something you do daily that can like, let it keep your mind moving. I'm telling you, man, if I wasn't running and working out and hitting the plunge daily, man, like my mind would be all over the place. Like it's literally my form of meditation. I also meditate, but you get it, man.
Yeah, you got to be out there. It's a whole different ball game just from running, the meditation, the lifting weights. It all hits a different part of your brain, and it's a different way of clearing your mind at the same time.
Yeah.
How does like I think it was like 2018 is when you really started to get into running specifically, or really down on your fitness. And it's interesting because this is still when you're in the nightlife. So I vividly remember, Eli, I'm following you on Instagram. You're out at the club. The timestamp's fucking 4 a.m. You're getting home. And then 4 hours later, you're in the gym at 8 a.m. And I'm just like, how is this guy doing this? Like, he's literally a lunatic. But what are you finding like in those early parts, like of like getting into the fitness heavily, where you're still participating in the nightlife, but you're also seeing the value of this fitness stuff. How does that start to blend?
I think like it's crazy because, I talk about that in the book. I just cared about how the outside appearance was, right? Like I was rotting inside doing that, right? Like I'd be like on 2 hours of sleep, coming off some like cocaine bender, drinking alcohol all night, like, and then going straight in. And all my friends that were partying with me, like they're waking up like the next day and being like, yo, this guy just go run 8 to 10 miles. Like, what's wrong with this guy? He's a fucking maniac. Like, but like, I knew that like the only way to recover from what I was doing was either to go run it out or go do something to kind of go clear my head. And at that time I was going through the breakup, that whole situation I just had happened that I talk about in the book, the tragic situation. Like there's just so much shit that was going on. And it was actually like a friend at the time that was like, yo, like I was running like 2-3 miles a day and he was like, yo, why don't you run more? And I was like he kind of was talking shit to me. So then I was just like, all right. So that day I ran 6 miles and then I was like, this ain't shit. So then I got onto Twitter and I was like, yo, I'm gonna run a half marathon, a full marathon this year. And then Ben Baller jumps in, Ben Baller. And he's just like, yo, bitch, you ain't doing shit. And he's like, if you can run this marathon if you can run 70% of it without walking, I'll host Warwick for free this year and be nice to your best friend for the rest of the year. And it was just like, it turned into like a whole thing on Twitter. And I was like, fuck this dude, I'm gonna go run this marathon now. And it's funny, we were just talking about this when I went on his podcast a couple months ago and he like completely forgot about it. And we were just dying laughing talking about it. But it pushed me, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so stupid. I would have done it anyway, but it was just like, these stupid comments from 2 of my friends that, got it going.
It's good though. It's putting pressure on you to want to like prove them wrong, which definitely that is your type of personality. Where like if somebody doubts you, you're like, buckle up because I'm gonna show you exactly what I can do.
100%. Yeah.
What are some of maybe 2 or 3 of the most valuable lessons you learned working nightlife that you will forever carry with you?
I'd say the power of networking, man. Power of networking was like so strong out there. Like you're meeting new people every single night, people from like every aspect of the world. It's just crazy that like, I always like sit there and I always think about that stuff. Just like everybody ends up going to a nightclub at some point in their life. Like, it's just like, or going out or going to an event or whatever it is. And I'd say the other is, just wanting nothing to do with that industry ever again. It's just like, it was just so dark and toxic, man. And like, it's funny, like a lot of people in the nightlife industry read my book and they completely like, were like, yo, this was fucking phenomenal. Like I couldn't agree more with all the things you were talking about in the nightlife because they know, but they're in it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just in it. There's ways to separate from it, but it's just, yeah, man, it's a dark world, man. I don't miss it. I don't ever have any thoughts of ever going back. And like, I could still use the connections I made to go do other things and if I want to do events or restaurants or whatever it is that I want to do here in the future. I'm working on some projects right now, actually, that will cross with a lot of like the networking that I've done back then, but it doesn't have to rotate around partying and getting fucked up and, stuff like that. And I've been sober now for over 2 years now straight. So I'm just,
unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're gonna get to the sober. We're gonna get to the sober in a second, but the networking part is such a interesting call out because anybody can put in the right room with the right people, but who you are as a person and the energy and the way you make people feel, that's going to be the differentiator of like whether there's a true genuine connection or you're just another person in the room. How are you able to? What characteristics about yourself do you think, and at those times, and even still probably very much are still true today, how are you making people feel, or like what is it about you that you think stands you out from everybody else? They're like, I need to know this guy, Eli. I want him around more.
I was just fucking raw and real with everybody, man. And like, that was the one thing that like, even celebrity friends that I had now till today, they always told me like, yeah, your ego got in a little bit, but you always kept it 100 since the day that we met you, like the day that we fucking met you with your bald skin head at Playhouse nightclub. And like, you always were very good at like taking care of us and being super nice. And you never changed the way you were 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm a very blunt person. So I just keep it 100 with people, and they may not like it in the moment, but they'll respect it down the long run, So like, for me, that was just it. And people like in LA, like, if you're like a real true veteran, you know, LA person, you can read fucking people quick, you know, and like they're just like, I like that guy. Like he might be a little bit of an asshole sometimes. He might be a little bit of ego, but he's fucking keeps it 100, you know. And that's just like what it is. It's truth. Like I'm an honest, sarcastic asshole. That's just what I am. You know, it's just what it is.
Yeah, but that's the best. That you want somebody that's very coming from the East Coast. That's what I gravitate towards. People that are just very real and honest. They're not like a dick about it. And they're not like going out of their way to like piss you off. They're just gonna give it to. They're a straight shooter, which is like it's exactly what you want at the end of the day. And so do you like putting on a mask, which is so coincidentally the name of the book, putting on a mask to make you feel good and be like, yeah, we're good. And then they turn their shoulder and they're still talking shit about you.
Yeah. And I think like with what you're just talking about, the mask had to do with, you know, kind of putting on this different identity just to be out, to associate with everybody and have a good time when I was miserable, you know, like that's kind of it. But when it came to my personality, I was always a straight shooter. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still the same way. It is. Look, this mouth got me in a lot of trouble, and this mouth also got me very far, and I ain't fucking changing for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just who I am, you know? That's just, it just is what it is, man. All I can do is just keep it 100 with you, and if you like it, you don't. If you know, fuck them. You know, if you don't like it, fuck it. If you do, cool. We're on the same team, you know? Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Quick break from today's episode, and then we'll get right back to it. I am extremely excited to share out today. We are groundbreaking with a brand new sponsor, Prettyboy. Skincare is the thing you boys, fellas need to be paying attention to. I started paying attention to my own skincare game probably about 3 years ago when I had gotten my first tattoo, and I started having to apply a daily lotion on my body to help that tattoo heal. And then I started, because I had so much extra lotion, I started doing this daily and using it on my face. I got introduced to Prettyboy about 2-3 months ago. I started using this product daily, and I have felt a tremendous impact in my skin. If you're watching visually, you can see not only the product, but you can also see my skin. To me, skincare, men's skincare, most importantly, helps us feel better about ourselves. It helps us build better confidence in ourselves. Also, wellness, right? We're taking care of our physical health or mental health through these podcast episodes and all these topics. Let's not sleep on our skincare game. This is incredibly important and something that I neglected for sure for a long period of time. Prettyboy is for active dudes that present that need a little help with skincare. And they present it, which makes it super unique. It's the sports, lifestyle, wellness style brand. Prettyboy's mission is to inspire guys to become healthier and more confident versions of themselves, starting with their skin. If you head over to yoprettyboy.com and use my promo code TheBeardedMan, all one word, that's going to get you 15% off every single order. They have this product right here called Revival. This is what I've been talking about and I've been using, and it's just incredible. I use it twice a day. Every morning when I get out of the shower, I put it on my face. Just 2 little pumps gets all of my face. And then at the end of the night, when I brush my teeth, I'll get some warm water on my face once again, and then I'll reapply it. So I'm applying Prettyboy twice a day. I truly feel the difference. I'm very cautious and aware of what brands I bring into this podcast and what I represent and what I spread awareness on. But I really, really do believe in this product. So extremely excited to kick off this partnership with Prettyboy. You guys are going to be hearing about it a lot more moving forward. So if you're interested, head over to yoprettyboy.com. Use my promo code TheBeardedMan, 15% off every order. And I just love the branding of it. I love the product. So a lot more to come. Increase your skincare game today, fellas. Yoprettyboy.com, TheBeardedMan, 15% off. Let's get back to today's episode. So 2 years, 2 years sober is a long time, man. Talk to me about before the sobriety. I know in the book you go into depths about there's a roller coaster of getting sober, back in it. But when you're in your peak, like we're talking every drug under the sun, how many days of the week? Like, what does that actually look like for you?
Shit, man. There were days I did like I was going like on 2-3 day benders, like every other week and shit. Like I'd just be up for 3 days, just fucked up. It was crazy. And I was still somehow managing, running the club with my partners and getting shit done and still working out. Like, I don't know, man, it was a gnarly ride, but you know, like the last, like, you know, I'm 34 now. When I turned like 29, 30 was just starting to hit me where I was over it. Like I was just kind of over it. I was over feeling like shit. And I just felt like I was almost doing it just because the environment around me was doing it. They weren't going, I mean, not, I would say like the smallest percentage was going as hard as I would be. Like I was just a fucking anomaly with how hard I used to go and was able to like still operate and stuff. But it was crazy. I don't know, just people didn't understand the context of how hard I party. They didn't, like, if you knew me, you knew, but like most people on the outside had no fucking idea.
Yeah. You know? Was it easy in the sense because you're the guy of the nightlife, you're always around people that know you for the nightlife, that like people are just offering you shit left and right. So it's kind of just like, yeah, why not? Is that kind of where do you think
that was there? And then it was just like, I didn't want to do what I was doing unless I was fucked up. That's where it got to the point was, right? Like I didn't want to stay up late. I wasn't even trying to hang out with girls. I wasn't even trying to hang out with people. I just wanted to get up early and go run. So like if people were out and they're like, hey, let's just get fucked up and hang out, or these people want to do this, people want to do that, I'm just like, all right, fine, fuck it. Because if I didn't get fucked up, that's it, I'm going home. So then, you know, you start to kind of like, you get kind of like, just kind of pulled in with the environment just to keep doing it. And then like, you know, you keep telling yourself like, oh, like, well, this is how you network. And then I got to a point where I was like, dude, I've been doing this shit for so fucking long now. I don't need to do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit's done. Like I'd say at the start, you kind of would feel like an outcast if these three known people are fucking doing blow in the corner over here and you're just fucking staring at them. Or, okay, cool, let's just go get fucked up with them and have conversation with them. Even though the conversation's all bullshit when you're on fucking drugs anyway. Everyone's fucking fake caring about everybody, bending each other's ears off. And it's just like, I got no judgment or opinions on anyone still fucking partying and stuff, man. It's just not for me no more, man. And it just, there's just no purpose to it. And it's not taking you anywhere in life. So I just focus on things that keep my mind clear and my vision clear. And I don't miss any of it, man. I don't feel like there's any withdrawals or anything. And I'm very like cold turkey. If I want to quit something, it's over. Like that's it. Like there's no going back for me.
What's helped you stay disciplined to that 2 years of sobriety? Because even though I know you talk about it in the book, but like there are those times where like you were committed for a couple months and then slipped up. Mm-hmm.
I think the environment. It's again the environment, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, any, you know, I saw you at an event the other night and stuff like that, which is fine. I'm like not like I'm not in a nightclub or like in an environment of like people in a fucking huddle in a corner of a fucking place, like doing blow and you know what I'm saying? Like, but like, well, even when I have been around it now in the last 2 years, like I have no judgment towards it. I'm just like, fuck, like, thank God I'm not doing that shit no more. So I know how these people are waking up feeling the next day. Shit alters your moods. Like you're just not yourself. And like for the longest time, I'd be depressed or like be angry all the time. And that, and I thought it was mean. It never was. It was just my body had been so like I'd never even given my body time off away from all these substances that I'm thinking I'm going crazy. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, and then you think like the next best thing to do to feel better is what? Get fucked up again. And it's just like, and then it becomes it's like a toxic hamster wheel. You just keep going in it and going in it and going in it. So you're just like, fuck it, I'm out. Like, let me just get out of this. Let me just, shut this wheel down. Let me get over here. And like the running saved my ass for sure, because I was getting highs on the runs. You know what I'm saying? And I was like feeling way better on the runs. The high on the run was way better than the high on drugs or alcohol. Like it was just like, it's insane. And like the dopamine hits from that last forever. They last forever. They say like a dopamine hit from like a line of cocaine is like a 200% spike and only lasts 1 minute. And like a cold plunge or a run is like 250 and it lasts for a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but
and it's a lot wellness. Like it's good for your body and mind.
But it's a lot harder to tell someone, hey, go sit in a fucking 39-degree fucking tub for fucking 6 minutes, or just here, come hit this line of blow. You know what I'm saying? What's easier for people? So it's like, I'm telling you, man, like it's just that I can't stress enough, like the everyday discipline and whatever it is that you love to do, man. It's life changing, and I think that's what's kept me on a float with the sobriety. But now like it doesn't cross my mind at all. Like there's no even like thought about it. Like I don't even think about it. Even if I'm around people or girls or like, hey, do you want to drink us? And I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. Like I'm just like,
well, you make a great comment, right? It's about the environment. And so if you're not in these environments anymore, it's very easy to not even realize that it's even happening because you're just not around people doing it. So how have you been much more intentional about what you say yes to, the people that you're around on a daily basis? Like how has that rippled into, over the last couple of years?
98% of things are just no's, you know, and like, unless like it's somebody's birthday or like somebody I care about, or like I'll pop in for like an hour, but I won't like, I pretty much haven't been in any nightclub for 2 years. I stepped into one of my buddy's spots in New Year's in San Diego for like a couple minutes. It's like a lounge. And like, I was like, bro, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, it was just like brought back.
Does it make you, I was gonna say, does it make you miss it?
I just like look around and like the second I go into a club, by the way, like I go into like a work mode and I start like looking at all the tables and like who's sitting there and like how it's organized. And like, you know, my mind just goes into like curating. Right. And then I just start seeing all these fucking drunk people everywhere and like fucking people stumbling out of the fucking bathrooms and like just tripping over their stilettos and shit. And I'm just like, and I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I don't, it's like, you know, it's just, you know, I always told people like, you know, and, you know, people can agree or disagree with this, but, you know, in like the, you know, 10 to 15 years I had been out, man, like majority of people aren't out celebrating something like to be proud of or happy. Like they're running away from something. You know, so you're dealing with a bunch of people and in like almost like a toxic environment now that are all sharing like some sort of depression or some sort of breakup or like whatever it is, man. But like, you know, there are times people just come out for a birthday and like have a good time or celebrating that, you know, they got some sort of promotion or whatever. But majority of the time, the regular people you see out, man, like they're all running away from something. You know, there's no reason to fucking be out and getting fucked up every night if you're not running away from something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have things you're working towards, bigger purposes, you're going to recognize that by me getting fucked up every night is actually hurting me for the next day of what I'm trying to work towards. So ultimately it becomes a Band-Aid for just temporary relief. Exactly. But in reality, you know that, I think that's, it's also kind of what you're talking about with the dopamine, right? Where you know, sometimes you probably don't feel like running, but you know the end result of how it's going to make you feel. So you do it. If you think about the end result of how drugs and alcohol are going to make you feel, you would never do it again. But short term, you're like, this is going to make me feel good right now. And I'll worry about the repercussions when it actually hits.
You're fucked up. You're fucking out yourself for like 3 to 5 days. You know what I'm saying? Like some people are just laid out the whole day and I'm like, why? I'm like, bro, like, come on, like get up. Let's go fucking grind, you know? Like, yeah, I just, you know, I think everyone's got to go through their, you know, own rock bottom situations, and like that's just the best way to learn, like you do. And like I said again, like I don't judge any of those people. I have no opinions on them. Like I think everyone finds themselves on their own path, and like, you know, and I just wish everyone the best, bro. Like I wish like everyone like, you know, can seek the inner peace and the inner love and like and just find it, because I think it's like one of the toughest things to find in life. That's what people struggle with the most. Yeah,
I personally in the last couple of years I've gone through like my being very mindful of when I consume alcohol and definitely stepping away from drugs and anything like that. Cause I have bigger things I want to work on. So, but it's one of those things where I recognize like everybody will hit that awakening moment at some point in their lives. And it's one of those things that you can only share your story and your experiences and put the ball in their court and like, hey, this is what I've learned. You know, it's up to you when you want to make these changes, but at the end of the day, like people have to have those moments where they just get sick of it and tired and want to make that change. And for everyone it's different. For you, it might be complete sobriety. For another person, it might be just being, you know, very cautious of when they pick their times to have fun. For others, it might be just like, once again, not needing it at all. But it's one of those tough lines where it's like, you can only share and tell people your experiences, but also you have to recognize like they got to learn it for themselves.
Yep. I do like, that's with everything I do is just try to lead by example. And I always tell people like, yo, like no matter what I tell you, you ultimately have to make that choice. Like if you're going to quit anything, quit making excuses and fucking start now and fucking keep going, you know? And like, that's all I can tell people.
Yeah. How did you know, I think somebody had mentioned it to you, like, yo, you should write a book, but like you're somebody, when you're starting to write Mask, you have, I think have read maybe one book front to cover. Yeah. So to have the courage to go, I'm going to write a book is pretty gnarly. How did you know that was the next best step, that you should write a book, that you should share your voice with the world?
You know, I was like in a rock bottom situation at that time. And with everything that I went through, I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but the public believed I did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, fuck it. I lived a crazy fucking life. So I was like, fuck it. I can put my story in here. I can put the truth out of what actually had happened. And that way I didn't feel like I had all this weight sitting on my shoulder of figuring out how I was going to get the public back on my side of being accused of something I never fucking did. And then as I just started, I even like that part of the book was like written towards the whole end. I just started writing and writing and writing. And then I was just like, fuck, I was like, this book's going to be fucking dope. I was like, I'm going to be able to just share my story, the truth about literally what goes on with Los Angeles after dark, and just start writing. I didn't have any help from anybody. I just kind of like Googled up on like how to start writing a book, and I just grinded for like 4 months straight. Like every day I would just zone out completely, turn off my phone, even though nobody really had my number at that time, but I would just clip it out and write for an hour. I would just write for 1 hour, and then I would revise everything I wrote for an hour. So I was getting like, some days I'd get like 4 to 6 pages done. You know what I'm saying? And then like, I had no idea what I was going to write the next day. I would just get on the computer and just start thinking. I'm like, all right, cool, boom. And like I could probably write a whole book on one weekend of like partying in LA, but like, that's not what I wanted to write the book about. I wanted people to pick up that book. I wanted people to learn from it. I wanted people to grow from it. And I wanted people to have a huge takeaway of feeling like, fuck, I gained so much from this book. Like, you know, I'm sure people thought I was just going to talk about the celebrities I was with and these crazy nights and this and that, but like, that wasn't the point of it. And I know I did a really good job at not using other celebrities and other, you know, people that were big in the industry that I met to tell my story. Everything was coming from my eyes and everything that I had personally gone through.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's smart that you also like, I think in the middle of the book, there's a lot of I just flipped to it, like 128, 129. You're showing pictures of like a lifestyle to give people true. Like I had seen all these pictures through Instagram, but I think it's really important for people to get context of like where you were truly at. Like you were truly the center of the LA nightlife. Like I'm literally just flipping through Blake Griffin, Marshmello, G-Eazy, Chainsmokers, MGK, like there's just like literally Ty Dolla $ign, like French Montana, like you, like everybody, you knew everybody, you still know everybody, but it's unbelievable. Like truly, like you were the center of it.
Yeah. And dude, I fought myself for so long on wanting to put photos in that book. I didn't want to, like, I was like, yeah, but then I was kind of like, you know, how many people are going to pick up this book that have no idea what I did before, like this and that. And I felt like I had to give myself some sort of credibility. And I did like a good thing with I just did like a trip down memory lane with like, you know, a ton of fucking photos and not putting any names on there. And like, it's pretty obvious who the people were and stuff like that. And I thought that was the only way to kind of give myself credibility within the story of, you know, because anyone could be like, oh yeah, I was friends with this person, or I knew that person, or that and that. Like, you know, like there needed to be some sort of credibility.
Yeah, and I think that's smart. You're leaning into the career you had built for yourself, even though it's not necessarily what you live and do today.
Yeah,
it's still showing you like what you had done in your past. What advice do you give to people that are wearing a mask right now that they don't want to be wearing, but they feel that they're obligated to?
Take that shit off and start living your truth, man. Like and you know, we live in a time now where it couldn't be a better time. Just rip that shit off and just like start like living your truth and speaking your truth, because the longer you keep doing that, the longer you're going to continue to suffer. And that's a whole different kind of voluntary suffering. That's not the type of voluntary suffering you want to be doing to yourself, you know? And
it's tough. It's easier said than done, but it takes time. It takes like some real dark moments of like finally waking up and realizing like this is just not the life that I want to live anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to put, you know, write down on a pad like pros and cons to what you're doing, you're going to see that there's probably zero pros to what it is, other than your ego being filled of still living a lifestyle that you want to live, or still being able to be in this house that you want to stay in, or still keeping these friendships that maybe don't matter to you but look better on the outside. Like there's probably not going to be many pros in a purposeful way of, you know, continuing to wear a mask.
Yeah. What's the biggest, I know during the book you talk about previous relationships and navigating them, and some not working out the way you'd want them to, and there was an intervention at one point. But how does your perspective on like relationships and dating differ from then to now?
Yeah, I mean, that one's still like a toss up. You know, I was seeing somebody recently and just had to cut things off, and just, you know, I definitely like learned so much from, the relationship I talk about in my book now. So like, it's very easy for me to point out what's going to work and what's not going to work. But, like when it comes to relationships, like you got to be all or nothing. Otherwise it's just like, you're not, if I continue to just like, sometimes I would continue to have this wall up because of everything I'd gone through, but just nothing's going to ever end up, coming to work out unless I'm just all or nothing and just like kind of letting it go and just fully loving if I'm going to like, date again and talk to people. But I don't know exactly what you were trying to ask me with that question.
Like, I guess I'm just curious, like, are there any intentions or like things you look for in dating? Back then you're in a different lifestyle, you're part of nightlife. Maybe it's purely just looking based on looks and somebody that like is fun to party with, where now you're obviously much more intentional about the things you do. So I guess more so just like, are there certain things that you're looking for in a dating life versus back then to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm like never looking to date. I think I've kind of like found the love within. And,
Wow.
If the situation ends up like working out like this last one did, it kind of just happened on its own. But, it was just great situation, wrong timing, just move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like and then, with a relationship, it's a lot of sacrifice, man. You start doing things that you don't want to do. You start putting people ahead of you. You start putting this, your partner ahead of you instead of doing the things that you want to do. But that's just what you do when you love and you care about somebody. But, I was starting to do that again, and I was getting off my flow and off my consistent flow. I'd still get my things done, but like instead of running at 4 a.m, maybe I'm running at 5 p.m. now because I'm staying the night with this person, hanging out. But like I got to remember that these are the things that I've started forcing myself to do to continue to stay with a healthy mind and a healthy mindset. And it's good. I think it's good to circle back sometimes though, and like put yourself in positions like I had just done and like kind of see how it works and realize like why you chose to start doing the things you did, like to make that change in your life. And yeah, I just, like I said, man, like I really do have like inner peace and inner love. And like, I don't need to be dating anybody. Like, like that's just kind of where it's at.
That's a really powerful thing to say, because I think a lot of people are seeking other people for validation or to feel that fulfillment and that love. What do you think has allowed you to build that self-love?
I think it kind of just goes back to being alone, like just like, for people out there going through breakups and this and that, not just switching off and going to a new partner and like just being able to like truly find out who you are. It's like I'd say like majority of people in these relationships, they don't know what their purpose is. They don't even know what makes them happy. They're so like dependent on somebody else that they're so quick to hopping to somebody new. It's like that's where their happiness depends on. And I think just having that alone time. And for me, like it was the running and just being able to go zone out and I learned so much about myself just doing long distance runs. Like learned so much about myself and like found joy and happiness within just digging deep on just doing voluntary suffering and just being out there and like just realizing that no one was going to make me happy but myself in the long run. At the end of the day, we all got ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like no accomplishment's going to make us happy forever. No materialistic objects are going to make us happy forever. It all starts within, man. And like same with a partner, like no person that you date is going to make you happy forever. Like it comes down to you. It's just you versus you in the end. And like, if you can find that happiness within, you can start dating other people. And if things don't work out, you're going to be fine. You're going to get past it just like you did all the other times you got past it. Like it's not the end of the world. And again, like just to be completely transparent, I'm going through something like that right now. And like, it's like at the start of it, it was so fucking rocky. Like there was so much turbulence and so many storms. And I just kept telling myself like, dude, you've been through the worst. Like we know this isn't the end of the world. And I'm almost a month in out of it. And like, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're good. Like you're good. You're focused on what you need to be doing. You're focused on doing the things that you do every day with the daily discipline, and you're just good. But it's hard to get over that hump, like that hump of being like, cause in those first few weeks, like, oh my God, I miss this person, or like, oh my God, like I feel sick. Like I need to hit them up. But then like, you just gotta go do the shit that you don't want to go do to clear your mind.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast with a guy named Lewis Howes. He hosts the School of
Yeah.
And he was, I think he was a guest on a show for somebody, but he said, he told his girlfriend this from the beginning. He said, if we date, you're my third priority. because my number one priority is my health. My second priority is my mission to helping people. And you're going to be my third priority. So if that doesn't align, like we should discuss that now, and, peacefully go our ways. But I want you to know that. And I thought that was like such a mindset shift, because I personally have been on that. I've been on that path too, where those have been my first two priorities for the last 5 years. And I've been single for a long time. But I do believe, and it's in what we're hearing today from you, is like when you really truly align yourself on those, I think it's similar to you. Those are your two main priorities. Like when you 100%. Put those as your priorities, I think when the time is right, you end up attracting to somebody that is pulled into you and wants to support you for that. And as Lewis discussed on the podcast, her reaction was, I've been looking for a man to say that to me my entire life, a man with a bigger purpose, with a bigger mission, that I'm there to support you along the ride. And so it's really for you to have that ability to know that it's not meant for you and respectfully like do what you need to do to continue on that path. It's respect, man, because a lot of people would fold like a house of cards and,
go right back
on with that relationship. And then, a couple of years pass, they neglected that whole area of their life. The relationship doesn't work out. Now they're back to square one of trying to rebuild up.
100%. And like, I was like, I think like when I was like going through this a couple weeks ago, I was just like, feeling like I don't ever have anxiety. I don't ever feel stressed out. And like, I felt that like the whole time I was hanging out with this person. And I was just like, is this like what people go through like forever? Like just to have somebody there. And like, I'm like, dude, like this sucks. Like, this is not fun, like this is fucking trash actually. And like, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm not fucking doing it, but like they don't have anything else to go back to. Like they don't have this daily discipline. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, I was like, all right, fuck it. All right. Back on my fucking trail runs every morning, getting up at 3:30 or 4, like this and that. It's not that I never stopped. It's just that I was like switching things around to be hanging out with this person or doing things with this person, which is fine. But once it starts to like interfere with your own mental health and your happiness, that's when you got to go, whoa. All right, I need to get back on this shit. This shit comes third, or this shit comes second. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I agree completely with what you were just talking about, the Lewis Howes thing, because, most people they get too obsessed with the person they're hanging out with, and that's it. Like, it's just like, they just want to be around them all the time. And then like these women get cluttered. They get so cluttered, and these guys are like, like all over them. And I'm like, dude, go do your own thing. Let them do their thing. And then, when you guys both have time, then hang out. And it makes it that much more better. You get to miss each other more. You get to hang. Like, there's just so much more to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't want somebody to be your true north, your reason, your why for what 100%. You do every single day. You want to have something that's bigger than you, that you're working towards, that no matter if this person leaves you or not, you still wake up the next day, you go back to the mission, back to what I'm working towards. And it's something that you can control. It's something that you can show those daily disciplines. You can control you going on the run, you jumping in the cold plunge, you meditating, you reading, you journaling, you posting the content that's helping people. But you can't necessarily control what somebody else thinks about you. Yep.
That true north should be whatever your greater purpose is in life. And for me, that true north is like being in service of others, man. And like just being able to help and change lives. Like that's where my north's at, man. That's like, people got to have it.
It's great. And I know you mentioned like sometimes you're getting up 3:30, 4 in the morning. Do you truthfully feel like you get enough rest? Because I'm all for the grind, but I'd say the biggest lesson I've had since the pandemic is actually prioritizing my sleep. And I feel the difference, but I'm curious, like, do you feel like you get enough rest, or is that something you still just like 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I need to do.
No, like if I know I'm like, right now I'm running like 20 miles every other day. That's like what I'm feeling is good for me right now. Like I'm in the mountains, obviously, like I get up, like today I hit core and I plunge, but so if I know I'm going to go train in the mountains, like that's it. Like I have to be in bed by 10 PM. Like that's it. I have to be asleep by 10. If like I get 6 hours of sleep, I can go train on that, right? I'm not going to go train on 3. I'm not training on 3 hours of sleep. Like that's not happening. I'll just like switch around my schedule. But like, some of these long races that I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to be sleep deprived on. So some of that will be good training for me. But I think like, at the end of the day, as long as I have like 6.5, I'm solid. Like I feel fucking great. I've been yawning a lot, like all the time. Like I just start yawning. Like I'll probably yawn in the middle of our thing right now. And I'm not even tired. I just like, I think it's from, these long runs and workouts that I'm doing. And like, I eat so much food and like, everyone's like, oh, maybe it's low blood sugar. I'm like, bro, I eat more fruit than fucking anybody in the world. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, it ain't low blood sugar. Like, fucking,
You do eat. You definitely eat a lot of fruit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But, when it comes to the sleep, I think everybody's different, and I can just, say what I do. And yeah, I mean, if I'm getting up at 3:34, like I'm going to bed 9:30, 10, like max,
It's good. What is the future of Eli look like? I know you mentioned ultra running. You didn't say ultra running specifically, but you said these long runs without sleep, which means more ultra runs. Obviously, I saw you post something on your Instagram yesterday of like some part of your house getting remodeled or somewhere, some studio.
Oh, no, yeah, it was a showroom. Yeah.
But for what you can share, what does the future look like for you right now? And that can change, right? Like the vision of where you're going can definitely change. But what do you feel like is the path you're going for the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I'm gonna announce all that stuff that you saw me posting up here, so I'll save that for them. But other than that,
I said, cool. Yeah, that's great. I don't want you sharing anything that isn't ready to be shared.
Yeah, and then other than that, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. I got a 100-mile race coming up in the next few months, and then continue to keep jumping on podcasts. Maybe even start my own podcast. I was just kind of thinking about that the other day. I feel like I know so many people, and maybe do a jointed podcast with somebody else that's pretty big, and maybe go down that route. I mean, I've been getting hit up a lot to like, they're like, yeah, you'd be great if you had your own podcast. Like, people like to hear you talk and this and that, and I was just like, I think for now I'm just going to jump on the podcast. I wouldn't mind writing another book, in the next few years, like, with this whole, like, with whatever goes on in my life. And, just kind of continue to be in service and keep inspiring people.
It's great. I definitely am a big fan of you starting a podcast. I think, the path that you're walking is really you just becoming a production company. From my opinion, is you just being a production company and podcasts, books, Instagram content, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube vlogs, documentaries. Like, I think that's the path you're kind of following. And I think a massive step, which we could talk anytime off camera, whenever needed. But podcasting would be a massive, massive play for you. And I think you would fucking
Fuck
so it's good that's on your radar. These are the final 5 questions. These questions, just one sentence answer if possible. If you got to say a little bit more, please do so. First question for you. How can people learn to give themselves permission to follow their interests and their ideas?
To follow their interests and ideas?
Yeah.
I think they just got to tune out all the fucking noise, man. Ignore everything, put the tunnel vision on, and just do what they want to do. Like, regardless if their family tells them, regardless of their best friends, everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone's going to judge. They just have to just shut everything off and just do what they want to do. Put down on paper what you want to do and go do it, regardless of what everyone fucking tells you.
Love it. Question number 2. If you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice at any point of your life, what would it be and when?
I think it would be just to live your truth, man. And just I would have told myself this, like, started the career in the industry, just to kind of live more of my truth and like kind of remove the mask and just be me instead of being who I thought everyone else wanted me to be.
It's great. It's powerful. Question number 3. What's an area of your life you need to put more effort into?
It's fucking every area in my life, man. Every area can use improvement.
Love that. 4th question. What is the first step that anyone can take to reaching their inner potential?
I think you just got to figure out like what truly brings you happiness with what you do in your life. Like I think you need to like figure out I think that's like the first step to figuring out what your purpose is, right? Like what makes you happy, what brings you happiness, not without the judgment of anybody else, without like, if there was nobody else around, what brings you happiness? And I think that could help you figure out your inner potential. 100%.
It's great. 5th and final question for you. Somebody's listened to the last 50 minutes of this podcast. They finished wrapping up listening to this podcast. What is one challenge you have for the listener today? Any challenge?
Go out there and do the first thing you don't want to fucking do.
Oh, that's beautiful. Eli, this has been truly, truly a pleasure. I know I've expressed this to you, but I'm truthfully a big fan of you. The energy you radiate, you're like I know, I can only imagine what you have went through in these dark moments along your journey. Nothing I hope to ever be in. I hope nobody else ever has to, but like the fact that you've been through it, gotten through the tunnel, and now are like leading by example, writing a book, sharing all your insights through like social media. It's just like, it's fucking phenomenal, man. I'm truly a big fan, and I'm really excited to see what this next year, 2 years, 3 years looks like for you, because I think it's truly you becoming a production company and just doing anything and everything. And I love the memes that you post every day on Instagram, but I truly do love like just the fucking work ethic, man. You're just, like you said in the podcast, like you're just trying to lead by example, and you're doing it by showing the process, the daily grind, and it's inspiring. And I'm really excited to hear what people think of this episode today as they listen to it, because I think there's gonna be a lot of people that hear this that maybe never were aware of you or heard of you. And I hope not only they get inspired by this podcast, but then they go get the book. And just a big fan of you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Crushing it. You're crushing it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's podcast today, all that I ask, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you're listening in on, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Post it to your IG story. Tag Eli. He's at Eli Wehbe. I pronounced it wrong. Eli Wehbe. It's tag him WEHBE. I'll have it linked up in the description below. Tag me as well at Bobe. That's BO, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share out this episode in your IG story. Let us know, what was the biggest takeaway? How did this episode change your perspective? We dove into a lot of different topics. I'd be very curious to hear and see what you guys and gals learned. Maybe share and let us know, what's the one thing you don't want to do that you're now going to do because of this episode. Also linked up below is Mask. I highly recommend pick up the book today. Get it on Amazon. It'll be linked up in the description below. If you rather listen to it, I know I haven't listened to the audio version, but I know Eli does kind of like a podcast style where he reads the book. I think in between the chapters, you kind of go raw of like talking about the chapters. Is that kind of what it's about?
Yeah.
Cool. So if you like, if you rather an audible book, I'll have that linked up below. Maybe tune into the audio version to get a feel for it. And I'll have his website also linked up below. Eli, is there anywhere else I should be sending the listener after listening to this podcast?
You can just send them to just the Amazon page. We'll have like the links to all that stuff on there. Cool.
Eli, It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya.